G'day everyone, I'm just wrapping up these tubes for our top frame and this is the last one. So this is the 8th one I've made and there's 4 long bows, 2 on each side and 2 short ones on each side, and the 2 short ones are little individuals. Now this one is the main bow that pivots on the car at the back, and so this is the second to the back bow. So this one's actually drilled to take the framework that forms the front half of the folding roof. But the bottom of it, it's crimped in and it's got a little insert inside it, and then it's got this little half moon on each side. So I had to make a little bit of unique tooling to make that work. And what I did is just simply grabbed a hole saw, cut a hole through a piece of 3mm plate, so 1/8 plate, and then cut it in half, put it back to back, drilled a hole in it so the hole would line up with the hole in the end of the little tube. That's the original there. And then I was able to clamp that on there, simple as, put the bolt in there and then clamped it up in the vise, and that crimped it in and got our nice little half moon set up inside there. And then I was able to crimp these edges down in there as well. So I thought that was interesting enough, so I'd share it with you with this last one. Now this one is the second from the front bow and it's a little bit different. It's got a second pivot point on it. So one side it's got the little scallop right up high and the other side it's down a lot lower. So I just simply modified the tooling I'd made and made the outside one so it lined up there. Now there's another rivet goes through here, so I've used that bolt hole there to actually clamp it as well. And that's the pivot point at the bottom there. And I've re-drilled this one so that it lines up for the inside, so that works there. This is the piece that I took out of this tube. So that piece there is original Dodge Brothers, and I gave it a bead blast and a prime last night, so it's ready to go in there. This morning I've drilled the 2 outside holes just by clamping this on the outside edge of there, centered up, and that way I've got the 2 holes in there, so I can drive this in now and get it to the point where I can anchor it in the right spot, and then we'll be able to drill the hole all the way through the other side and get these 2 clamping plates in place, and we can shape the last of our little tubular part of the bow. So he's in there, not coming out again, as long as I put him the right way around. Yeah, the flat side faces the outside of the car, so I took note of that when I took it apart, and the folded over edge tucks on the inside, and that also lines up with our shaping as well. So when you look at it like that, you've got the step in there where it tucks around the bottom edge of here. So in he goes. And we'll just get him through into the right spot. Now it's already a pretty tight fit in there, but because we've made this by rolling this up, it's still not quite the right shape, and we can squash it down a lot yet, and I've got to come down just a little bit more. Right, that's lined our 2 holes up on the centre plate. So I'll just rip a drill through there and we can get a bolt into those. It's a bit blunt. Now, that's drilling right through the middle of the weld, so that was always a bit tougher as well. And I've deliberately put the weld there because that's where the pivot's going to be. So that will actually strengthen the piece of tube where the pivot point for the roof is. Now we're a little bit offset when I put the piece in there, but because of the thickness of the piece of material inside, I've just got the drill to bite into it, and then I've walked it out, and it's made this hole a little bit oval on the outside, but that's not going to matter because it's going to have a rivet that's going to be crimped into there, and that will swell and fill the hole when it goes together anyway. That one on there, that one on there. Supposed to go in there. Did you guys drill the hole in the wrong spot? Come on, fess up. Who did it? The hole in the insert at the bottom is actually a little bit bigger than what I've drilled the hole in the tube. And this was made for the other side bow, so it looks like there's a little bit of a discrepancy from factory as well. So what I'll do is I'll stick this hole a little bit, just give us a little bit of room in there. Even Dodge Brothers in the 20s had manufacturing tolerances. Yeah, let's give it a whisker more. Should be plenty this time. Yeah, that'll work. Now this has got to be pulled in tight onto that inner piece, so just pulled it down and let it squash the tube in a little bit, and then we'll get the other one in place. Because there's only the one bolt in this plate, just got to align it so it's centered over the tube, squash him down. And that's just pulling the whole thing in as I go. You can feel it squashing just with the tension of the bolt. So what that's done, it's brought it down. We've got a good taper on it. By squashing it in the vise, we'll pull that out of it. But when we look at it from the end, we've got a big oval area in there as well. And the bolt doesn't really have enough strength to crimp it in tight. So we'll get in the vise and we'll do a little bit of backwards and forwardsing. So we'll clamp it up, squash these sides down, and then probably take the plates off and come back here and hammer it back down on the bench as well. So it's a little bit of mucking around to get it to work. Didn't plan to do that, it just happened. But we'll get there in the end. That's squashing that side in. Turn him over. Squash the other side in. Tighten the bolts up again. So already we're getting that nice little half moon appearance in there, giving a factory look to our new tube. Because I've squashed it in, the sides want to bulge out a bit. So what I'm going to do now is just crimp them in together. And I have just got a piece of off-cut 5/16 8mm material. And I'm going to use that as my drift, and I'm just going to drive it back down and crimp the corners in. that's spreading it out. So we'll do a little bit of tipping it over and coming back to it, and then we'll take the plates off and flatten the sides in with the hammer on the end, the little edge there. But at the end of it, we'll have a very similar piece to the factory. So that's coming in. So what we're doing here is shrinking the piece of sheet metal down and making it so it's tight around that inside insert. Now this is the tricky one, it's getting this one in here. If I start resting this on things is where I start distorting the inside tube. The last one pulled in, this one's not playing the game I want it to play. Manufacturing tolerances. Just pulling apart. So that's got a nice pressing on that side of it. So this is the last one. So I made the one for the other side yesterday. And it came up quite nice with a scallop in here as well. So something's different. We haven't got this one quite down as far as we got the other side one down. When all else fails, hit it with the hammer. So that's got a piece in there. This one might be a little bit fatter insert, but looking through the layers of metal, that's actually tight in there. So that's so we're getting close. What I want to do is flatten this down a little bit more in here yet. So that's pretty close. The tough pieces to shrink are these two outside webs here. So I'm actually putting some hammer blows onto the sides at the moment. I'm just going to come in, I don't want to damage this piece in here. Now this one, we're a little bit lucky. When we look at the very back one, it fits into this little yoke here. So if it's too fat, it's going to cause some other dramas down the track. But this one here just has a little bracket on one side of it with a rivet through for the pivot. So if this wound up being a few 30 seconds bigger than the original, or a few millimetres bigger than the original, it's not really going to cause us any great grief. But we've nearly got him. I might just put him back in the vise with the plates on it, and we'll give it a couple more clouts on the top, and that will be our last little tube finished. Another piece of the top frame pivots right up the top here where this weld is, so that'll have a rivet through there and a piece of bar that pivots on that. And then these two welds I will grind, smooth them in with this area here, and then I'll get the cutting wheel and just get this line to run straight through the bottom piece of the weld, and then I'll grind that so that that flows in with this piece of tube here, and that weld will effectively disappear. So when it goes together, I'll put a little bead of sealant in here and wipe it off so that we just look like we've got a raw metal seam there. And This end here, I'm going to grind it to the radius to match how the originals were, but I will weld around that to keep the moisture out of that end. And on the top end, we'll seal the two pieces of metal with some urethane, and once the wood goes in, we'll glue the wood into it as well. So we should be safe from rust for a few lifetimes after that, given that the originals were put together as bare steel and then painted on the outside, and given that they were steam bent timber and production processes, the timber was probably still wet when it was put inside these, so they most likely started rusting from day one anyway. So I'm hoping that now we've done all this work to this top, that it'll never be a problem for anyone ever again. The current owner's great-great-grandchildren might have to fix it. Right. So we've got a nice crimp on it now, so I'm going to call that done. Okay, so we're nearly ready to go. So that just wants that radius grinding on the end, a bit of weld running around that, grind the weld back. Like I say, tidy these up a bit here. Got to trim it a little bit, but then we will have something that is very similar to what Dodge Brothers made nearly 100 years ago. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll catch you next time.